YouTube, this is Bharat. I'm the founder and director of ReadyReady's LLC. We are an infrastructure as a service provider and a managed service provider as well. And this technical video is about Laravel. So Laravel, as you know, is the modern PHP framework that all the PHP developers are nowadays using, and it has made life simple for developers to deploy applications more rapidly when compared to the past. And PHP has now been gaining a lot of traction over the period of time. So today we are going to see how to set it up on an Ubuntu 20.04 cloud instance from ReadyReady's LLC in our Amsterdam infrastructure that we've been deploying on a steady pace. Uh, so let's get to it. As you can see, we are now on the Laravel's website, and we have the basic documentation and all of the links present there. I've gone ahead and deployed a new instance on our cloud infrastructure, which is an Ubuntu 20.04 instance. Now let's just start with updates. Okay, I've run an apt-get update, and what this command does is it searches all the repositories that are present for Ubuntu registered within this particular cloud instance, and it tries to update what all packages are available and are being sent from those repositories. Now we are going to check if we have any upgrades or anything that we can install. So as you can see, it says I do have a lot of upgrades to be done. So I'll go ahead with installing them. This might take some time initially, so it downloads fast, but it might take some time to complete the installation. All our servers are powered by NVMe drives, so the actual read and write speeds are quite awesome. You should be able to run any sort of application uh, loads on our servers without you know, compromising on performance. As you can see, we are now unpacking packages and setting them up. So in the meanwhile, Laravel will need three different components, actually four, which is a web server, a PHP processor, a database, and Composer. Now, for the web server, we are going to use nginx, which is a modern server, and it is a lot better than Apache, which is the go-to standard web server in the operating system by default. And then for PHP, we'll be using PHP 7.4 with FPM. And for MySQL, instead of going with the traditional MySQL, we'll go with MariaDB. Now, MariaDB is like MySQL on steroids. So basically, it performs better and is a lot more robust when compared to the basic MySQL. So you can consider using it. There is literally no difference in the schema capabilities, although MariaDB is a bit strict with the data types. You can disable strict mode in the configuration file. So for Composer, we'll go with whatever is available, on their website. And now, since the setup is almost done, it's currently processing triggers. And once the triggers are processed, triggers are like these post-installation steps that need to be run once a package is installed. So it's trying to do that. Okay, so we are done with the updates. Now let's go ahead with installing our first component, which is nginx. So I'll do apt install nginx and I'll press Y. Okay, there is our nginx, and now we'll just enable nginx using the systemctl command, and then we'll start it. And then we'll say status nginx. Yeah, as you can see, nginx is currently running. Yeah, so to test this out, what we'll do is we'll visit the browser, um, and you can see that nginx is running and responding to the public port. By default, we whitelist all the ports in our cloud instances except port 25, which is a mailing port, but it can be requested for whitelist once you're done. You have a valid reason for the same. Okay. So nginx is installed. Next comes the PHP installation. For this, we are going to use the the PPA Entree repository for this instead of the Ubuntu repositories because it sometimes has folder packages. So let's add that repository. Apt add repository PPA Entree /php -y. Now -y says that you shouldn't ask me whether it's a yes or no. It's definitely a yes, and you can go ahead. But let me just show you. And there it is. It will, you know, do a apt update as soon as the package, the repository is added into our list, source list. So that's done. Now I'll just say apt install php 7.4, and yeah, it's going to install PHP 7.4 with all default packages, but then we'll also be setting up additional packages for uh, Laravel to perform. You know, Laravel always yeah, depends on such things. Now you can notice one thing. This year has tried to install Apache on Ubuntu, though we are using nginx. Now that's because we didn't specify any specific packages for 7.4 to be installed, so it will by default install Apache. So let's remove that. Apt remove Apache 2, and then once Apache 2 is removed, you'll do an apt auto remove. This will remove any packages that are no longer required by the PC or the system. That's done. Let's install packages that would be required for Laravel to run. So PHP 7.4. Now we can do it like this: PHP 7.4 hyphen any package name you give. But this is going to become quite lengthy. So what we are going to do in a shortcut method is we are going to open a curly brace, and then we are going to close it, and then in between we are going to mention the packages. So CLI GD curl MySQL, LDAP, zip, file info, FPM, XML, MB string, EXIF, SOAP, imagic, XML. Okay, XML is already here. Imagic, PSPL, and I think that should be it. And as you can see, it's now adding all those to modules or extensions to the PHP installation. We also need to install PHP backmath, I think, and there's one more thing called MB string. Yeah, that's already done. Okay, so that's about it. Don't worry about the commands, they'll surely be listed in the description below. So PHP has been installed. Now we are going to do a systemctl enable PHP 7.4 FPM. We have to mention the version, yes, since Ubuntu allows you to install multiple PHP versions on the same system. And then we are going to say start PHP 7.4 FPM. Okay, and then you can check the status here as well. And it's running. Okay, and now we need the MySQL, right? So apt install MariaDB server and MariaDB client. I just say yes. So this will install MySQL with MariaDB, and it will be a default of MySQL 1.7. So MariaDB is on a version scale of 10.xx, whereas MySQL is on 5.7 or 5.xx. And recently the MySQL 8 has come out. But yeah, our installation is done. Systemctl enable MariaDB. Systemctl start MariaDB. Okay, once that's done, we are going to say MySQL install secure installation. We haven't provided any password yet, so we'll be creating a new password. I always use passwordgenerator.net for generating passwords. Now we'll be removing anonymous users, and we'll also disable root login remotely. We'll remove the test database and remove the privileges. Now that's done. You have a secure MySQL installation as of now. And just by typing MySQL, you should be able to go in. Yeah, and you're on MariaDB 10.3. Yeah. Okay. Now what we are going to do is we're going to exit this. Our next and final component is installing Composer, and Composer is the vendor package manager for PHP. It is like npm for Node.js. So let's start with that. We are going to just copy the commands listed on their website to download the setup file. So php-r, it copies the installer and names it as Composer setup. What you can do is you can just copy this link, okay, and then you can say uh, wget this -o composer setup.php, and then you can just run php composer setup php install dir is equal to user bin, and then file name would be composer. Yeah, once that's done, you should be able to, yeah, yeah. So you are now having composer here. Yeah. So let's go to www.html. Here you can see two files, index.html and index nginx.html. I'll be removing both of them, and then I'll just say composer create project laravel /laravel. I'm not mentioning a version here. And dot. Now dot, what happens when you put a dot instead of full name? It will install all the packages within that directory. Yes. And now we just have to wait for Composer to do everything for us. That's it. And we now have the entire Laravel directory structure. Now if I still try visiting that page, okay, it says 4034 forbidden. Now this is quite common because we don't have an index file over here. It's pointing directly to this directory. So let's go to our nginx config and make some changes. To go to the nginx configuration, you can visit etc nginx. Here you can see a lot of files. Just open the nginx.conf, and you need to know two things. One is the user over here. Okay, we need to make sure that the user www data is also being used by php-fpm as well. Okay. The next thing is you can notice that virtual host configs are located in here and here. We'll use this for our website configs. Okay, so etc nginx sites enabled. Let's go to etc nginx sites enabled. There's a default file. Open it. I'll remove all these commands. I'll remove these commands as well. I'll remove this as well. This. I'll explain what is what shortly. Remove these comments as well. Remove this tably and save it. Now, if you are using PHP, we need to add index.php to the list. So let's add it to the first. What this does is in any directory that the user tries to visit from the web server or maybe from the browser, it will look for an index file, which would be one of the following: the index.php, the index.html, or htm, or this file. If it doesn't find any of such files, it just says 4034 bit and it's not going to list the directory for you. Yeah, that is a security part. Now, the next thing you see here is this. So fast CGI, which is all the PHP requests, will be processed by this file, this socket. We need to make sure that this socket actually exists. So let's check. Yeah, it exists. That's why it's returned here in ping. So if it doesn't exist, let's say I'll just change it to 1. It will say no such file or directory. Okay, now it exists. Now you need to check which user the php-fpm process is running at. So psaux grep php, it's running as the www data user, so that's fine. We'll not have issues between nginx and php. However, in the html directory, the html directory is owned by root. It's not going to allow it to write anything to it. So we'll just say www data html -r, and what this does is it will change the ownership of the HTML directory to www data. Yeah, as you can see. And now we need to tell nginx that Laravel has the index file in public directory. So we need to only expose this directory from nginx to the world. So we'll go back to nginx sites enabled, default, and we'll say the root should be public. Save it. nginx-d, this checks the configuration file for any mistakes. Make sure to do this always so you'll be in safe hands. nginx-s reload, this will not restart up nginx, but it will slowly kill and recreate each and every worker that is online. Okay, now that's done. Now let's go back to that website and let's see. Yep, Laravel is finally here. So this is this. Now let's test our connection to the database. So first things first, let's open the env file, and here you can see the database name is Laravel, username is root, and password is nothing. Let's try making this Laravel as well, and the password can be set to wait welcome 123. This just for example purposes. Never use such passwords. Save. Now we'll go to MySQL. We'll just say create user in inverted commas Laravel @localhost. Now localhost because Laravel only should be able to access it through localhost and nowhere else. So identified by, one second, let me capitalize that. Identified by welcome 123. Oh, sorry, identified by 123, and then um, create database Laravel, and then grant all privileges on Laravel dot star. That is the database name, and star dot star means any tables on it. To Laravel at localhost. Okay, and then we'll just say flush privileges. Okay, that's done. Let's exit. Now We just try our migrations, default migrations, PHP artisan migrate, oh sorry, migrate, and that's it. As you can see, it was able to successfully connect to the database. That's the reason it was able to push all those tables. Now I'll just say MySQL, use Laravel, and show me the tables. So show tables. And that's it. We now have all the tables here. I hope this was educational. I hope this was helpful. So if you have any doubts regarding this setup, you can comment and ask us, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, and share our channel and support us, and we'll come up with more great videos and tutorials moving forward.